Well, good afternoon, everyone, and I am super excited to be live right now. I am being joined today, as you probably know, by a special guest, and this is going to be the first in a series of, well, so far there's 8 booked in. And we are doing guest interviews with people that can help you with all aspects of your business. They're going to share a bit about their story and what they do with social media and all of those kinds of things. So the way that this works with Facebook is that I go live and then hopefully Shalini will find her way here and I will be able to add her in to the live. She'll pop up next to me and we'll be able to do this as sort of an interview style thing. But whilst we are waiting for her to find her way here and all of the tech to match up, I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I met Shalini. So she came recommended to me when I was looking for a lawyer to create a licensing document for me for my Aussie Allergy Mum business. And when I asked in a couple of Facebook groups for recommendations of people to talk to, it like hers was the name. It was like bang, 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 and up she came. And so I was like, oh, I wonder who this person is. This sounds cool. And so, as I always would do, being a social media person, I went on a bit of a stalk. I found my way to her blog, and she had some of the most amazing and informative articles about the legal aspects of running a small business. And it sounds really bad, but I had been in business for quite a while before I needed this particular document. And then what I discovered was that there was probably other things that I could be doing better to protect myself and my business and my customers and clients as well when it came to the legal aspects. And so I basically was able to get to the point where I could go, this is kind of a thing, and this is a thing that I have not really been paying attention to, I guess, as much as I should be. And so I decided that I would find out a little bit more about it. I spoke with Shalini and created the document with her that I needed for my business. And she was just amazing at being able to help me navigate the legal side of things. She was super professional, but she was also helpful in explaining how all these things worked and allowing me to really understand exactly what was going on in terms of the legal frameworks for small business. And so when she reached out to me from my call out, I was like, this is what we need, because we all need to be making sure that we are protecting ourselves legally when it comes to our business. So she has joined us and I can see her, but Facebook is not allowing me to add her in. And so Shalini, I've just changed the settings and I'm wondering if it will allow you to request to join us. There might be, hopefully be a little button where you can actually request to come into the live. And so if you do have that button, I would be ever so grateful if you could push that, because at the moment it's telling me, yay, it's gonna work. Here we go. Get the wonderful pleasure of introducing you to Shalini. I can see it coming. Facebook's like adding. And then hopefully it will connect. There we are. Hello.
Hello. That wasn't very hard, was it?
No, it's not. It's just connecting the pieces together.
Yeah, I know. I thought, I wonder if I can do this, because quite often I'm on my laptop and
Yes.
or my PC. So it's good though to be able to do it on the phone. Nice to see
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you too. Awesome. Well, the little bit of lag did allow me to give a little bit of a story as to how we first connected. But I guess for the people who are out there watching this video, can you take us through a little bit about what you do and what your history is and how you landed in this space of helping small business owners?
Okay, so I'm a legal practitioner, but I've always been a small business professional as well. Um, I think I've landed in this space. Sorry, excuse me, I'm recovering from the flu.
All right.
Because my training was actually, original training was as a journalist and in marketing, and then I went on to become a lawyer. I think working in this really very niche space, because that's all I do, Caroline. I work
Yeah.
solely with solopreneurs and micro enterprises. So this is people who are the face of their business, not bigger businesses, not, people who are generally like, when you ring them for a service, they're the ones that you speak to. So
Yes.
I think my interest in business, my abilities as a journalist and as a writer and in marketing, and then going on to qualify as a lawyer, just kind of like ended up with me naturally being in this space. But I also really love it. Like I'm constantly finding little gaps in people's knowledge that I can feel that make them, that much more confident in running their businesses, or asking the right questions, or filling
Yeah.
in some knowledge gap that they have that they didn't get, but they kept going anyway, and then they're worried about it. Just things like that, which I think, when you're a small business owner, you don't need to constantly be drowning in the big picture, because you've all got that vision thing happening. Sometimes you just need someone to say, you know what, it's all right for you to do that,
Yeah.
or do it this other way, it'll be fine. Just little things to get you over so that you can move on to the next phase of your business.
I
Mm.
totally agree. And actually, after working with you on the licensing agreement, you sent me an email and you were like, you really need some proper terms and conditions and a privacy policy. They were on my website, but they weren't showing. And so
Mm.
all I had to
Yeah,
do was
so
click a couple of buttons.
that's
But
right.
I
So
didn't know.
sometimes you just, yeah. I think what it is with when you are a mum, sorry, excuse me, or anyone starting a small business, you don't know what you don't know. So usually when someone contacts me and says, "Oh, I'm starting a service, what do I need to consider?" I always go back to, like, first of all, who's helping you? Who's helping you? Like,
Yeah.
who are you talking to? Because I need to know from that how developed you are in your service. You can only have, there's, when you set up a business, you do need legal advice about how you set up your business. Your business setup is pretty important. You
Mm.
do need some basics in place. Everybody needs to start with an ABN. Then you need to make a decision about your business name. Then you should have a conversation about whether the business name can be trademarked. Whether you trademark or not is irrelevant, but whether you pick that business name and it is available to trademark, that's a better outcome for you than if you are breaching someone who may have possibly trademarked that name. So it's a very
Yes.
important conversation. So once you've got all that sorted out, then you only have a business if you have a service to sell or a product to sell. And that's when I say, ask my clients, who's helping you? Do you have a business coach? Do you have someone assisting you with marketing? um, have you proven your service? You know, it's
Mm.
really. I would love to. I would love to be able to say, look, the day you decide you're going to have a business, you need to have business legals like a client agreement, website policies, etc. That would be amazing for my income, but terrible for your business. Okay, what
Yes.
is important is that you prove your
The
service. So
concept.
if you're going to
Yeah.
be a mum who's setting up a coaching service, you need to have crafted your service, you need to have done your target market interviews, you need to have worked out a price, you need to have seen a few clients, you need to show me that you've sold the packages and what happened.
Mm.
Okay, because that is what is the basis of your contract with your clients, not what I think you should be doing.
Mm.
It's your business. We need to make it work for you. And the
Yeah.
same, so if you are a mum who set up an e-commerce shop, so you've decided to set up an online shop, same. You need to have done the background. Who's your market? What are you selling? How's your pricing? Have you tested your website? Have you had, you know, um, like the transactional experience? And that is so important to have. There's at that point, it's so important to have an understanding of basics of consumer law. The transactions, things like refunds,
Mm.
cancellations,
Yeah.
damaged goods, all of these things. Like when you go into the Facebook groups, There are posts after posts after posts about people complaining about customers who want a refund or who want to send something back or who say they didn't receive it but you've posted it. All of these things need to be managed in your documentation.
Yeah.
If if there's a process and a procedure and it's clearly outlined, you just stick to that. That's your
Yes.
platform for negotiation every time. So, I've been speaking about small businesses and micro businesses and startups and legals for a long time. Well, for as long as I've been doing Legally Shalini. And I think it's really important for people in this space who are starting out to understand that everything is a practice and a process. Once you've proven something, then you know that's how you want your gig to roll.
Mm.
And
Yes.
the reason why you would then get someone professionally qualified to draft for you is to make sure that it's drafted in a way that the document is legally compliant, okay, so that all the legals are met, but also that it's written in a language that your client understands, and that
Yes.
when I go through the document with you, you understand your legal obligations and your responsibilities. So if you are stuck, if somebody hits you up with a question or a difficult situation, you know what to say. You are
Yeah.
comfortable with your process. So yeah, this is where we're at with I believe that that's the thinking that people should have about their legals. It's a work in progress and it grows with you as your business grows.
I think that's really important because there's often a bit of a kind of fear around the legal side of things. And what do I do?
Mm.
How do I do it? Is something going to happen to me? What risk am I taking? How do I mitigate that risk? And so often that fear actually stops people from doing what they need to do to
Mm.
mitigate the risk. So it's really good to know that it can be a process. It doesn't have to be perfect,
Yeah.
everything at the start. It can just be a process, but it needs to be done properly.
Well, all your terms and conditions, your client agreements, your policies, they are contracts. And contracts are meant to be amended
Mm,
when a situation changes. Okay, they're not cast in stone.
mm,
And just because you have a contract does not mean that you will never get into any trouble. You have to understand that contract. You have to learn to negotiate from that contract. It is a part of being in business.
mm,
Okay, talking to people and negotiating and troubleshooting and problem solving, that's real business.
mm.
That's when you know that you're truly in business, is when you're able to do those things skillfully. And your
Yes.
contracts allow you to do that. So I think it's really important that people don't so you know how when we all start our businesses we have all these mindset stuff going on, that we're not good enough, that we're not going to be able to get the clients. I went it's not like I went through it. About once a year I go through it with my own business, where I think, what am I doing here? This is crazy. Where's the next client coming from, and the next client's already there, but I still have this story in my head. So legals are no different. Your legal responsibility, people think, because they don't know, not, and once someone's gone through your contract with you or gone through your business process with you, and said, okay, so this is how you're doing things. This is what the law says. This is how you'd like to do it. This is what I think you should say to cover yourself. Okay. And
Yeah.
once we've had that conversation, the fear is gone. You are completely comfortable with your process. So not only do you not worry about difficult situations arising because you have a plan, a process to manage it, you also feel very proud of your documents. So you feel
Mm,
very confident when you give someone your client agreement or your terms, and you say, okay, these are the rules for working with me. Take a moment to read them. It's important information and it'll help us have a really good outcome. That's how you should be going at it. Not being overwhelmed by this document that you don't really understand. that was written by someone else that you have been forced to fix. And, it was a bit like with your licensing agreement. By the time I went through it with you, you knew what it meant to be in that
Yes.
contract with another person, and what you could do, what you couldn't do, and things that may change for you, in which case that's okay. And the one
Yeah.
solid rule about business I've learned is that change is always around the corner. So you've got to be fluid with your agreements and your legals just as much as you are fluid with your desire to grow your business. You'll always have new ideas coming up. So what a lot of how I say to people when I counsel clients, when I'm finished drafting for them and we talk about the agreement, I say to them, listen, this is a work in progress. This document is here to help you. When things change, come back to it.
Yeah.
See what needs to be updated. See what's working. See what's not working. It works. The document works for you. You don't have to bend over backwards for it. It changes for you. So it's really developing kind of like, so, like it's just like a tool in your business toolkit. So people have all these tools, like if they're stressed, they tap. Or they have a best, friend in business, or they have a mentor, or they journal, you know,
Yeah.
your terms or your legals, they're your blueprint. They're like your business plan. You go back to it and say, oh, okay, this is how I was running things 6 months ago. Things have changed. This was working. This was not working. I need to make some changes. And if your document is well drafted and you've been trained properly as part of the drafting, then you should be able to make those changes yourself. You don't need to, go back and
Yeah.
get unless there is something vastly different that you're doing.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that knowledge with us because I think it is something that a lot of people are avoiding doing or feel like it's a big thing to do when really it isn't. It was such a simple process to have the documents drafted and then to understand how they work. And I do go back through my licensing agreement at times and make sure that I do still, know what's going on and nothing does need to be changed. So definitely think that it can be, it doesn't have to be a difficult process at
That's
all.
right.
Yeah. So I
And
guess one
it's
thing
one
that
of those things. Sorry, go
no,
on.
you're right, you go. No, you go.
I was going to say, it's one of those things that you really do need a second pair of eyes to look on,
Mm,
because one of the things that we as legal practitioners are able to do is we ask the hard questions in a safe place. So if you're
yeah.
doing, if you, so when we look at your process, or certainly when I do, I will ask you, why are you doing this? How does this actually roll out with your clients? What does it actually mean in terms of them understanding, your clients understanding? What do you think they have in their head when they do this? The reason we have all those questions is so that we can then manage challenges or troubleshoot like before they happen. So I
Mm,
can draft
yes.
it into the document. I can say, okay, if this situation happens, this is what the client's thinking, this is how we're going to handle it, so that they can go back and read it and say, right, actually, I'm thinking about it in this way, but this is how I should be thinking about it. So it's
Yes.
really a case of, that is really what you're paying for, is the critical eye of someone else that can put your service uh, to make it legally robust, but at the same time, make your client want to work with you because you've given everything a lot of thought.
Yes.
You've showed a bit of
Yeah, it
care
feels
and a bit of
easy to them.
concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I agree. I totally agree. So one thing I've noticed and is of particular interest to me because I do a lot of social media is that over the last week or so, you've been sharing a lot about some recent legal action in New South Wales to do with Facebook page and group owners and content. So I was
Mm.
wondering because I've seen what you've been posting and I've read the article, it's appearing everywhere. And so I was wondering if you could just take a couple of minutes to explain to us why that piece of why that sort of happening is important and what we should be doing as responsible Facebook page owners in business.
Okay, so let me put it into some context. Firstly, that in that situation, that was the business page of a news media group. Okay, so we're
Yeah.
talking of, I mean, all things being equal, we're talking about business pages. You've got a business page, I've got a business page. So there's two things here. People are allowed to post on our business pages. And at our level of business, where we are solopreneurs, we really mostly are about building community. Okay. So we are looking for like-minded people. We are wanting positive communication in our groups and our pages. We are not seeking, we're not trying to sell a newspaper. We're not trying
Yeah.
to
Look for
create
controversy.
a news headline. Well, we are in a business sense, but not in the way that you know, News Corp might be doing, or whoever the news media platform is.
Yeah.
So in each of our groups and pages, there's two things that can happen. People can get ranty. You've heard that, you know, they say about to get ranty. Now,
Yes.
that that to me, it's very good to have a strong opinion about something. I think that's great. I love the fact that people believe in stuff and stand by it. But ranty is a whole different thing if you are going to rant about somebody else's business or that person or their service.
Mm.
Usually it happens because services haven't been delivered or someone hasn't been paid. So people
Yes.
get onto a business group and they say, I'm going to rant about such and such situation happening. So they may not name a person or a business, but they'll generally rant about the other details of that situation or that
Yes.
relationship. And that starts a whole thread of negativity in the group where people come in and they say, yes, this is wrong, this is bad, you should do this, you should do that. It just becomes this out of control thread.
Yeah.
What has it achieved? All it's done, it's brought people out of the woodwork that have clogged up your feed.
Yeah.
And there's been, you've asked for advice that is not professional advice, you know,
Mm.
people giving what they think should be done. But most importantly, it's inflammatory.
Yes.
Okay. Now, that in itself is not against the law, it's not defamatory. But it would only take one person to mention one person's name who they think that person might be
Hmm. Hmm.
before
And
that
then it,
whole post becomes defamatory.
yeah.
Okay, so that is so easily done in the solopreneur space, because when you think of the big groups that we all hang out in, you know, so the rants, you get a daily rant from someone about something. And the reality is, Caroline, if you are in business, someone hasn't paid you or delivered a service, there is a process for that.
Yes. A
Okay, there
proper
is a process for
process.
that. Yes, you take it to small claims, you take it to a tribunal, you lodge a complaint, you send a letter of demand, and you leave it at that. You do not bring it into the groups and start a ranty post that begins this massive, big, negative vomit on.
Yes,
And this
because
is
it
why
doesn't get you what you need
it
anyway.
doesn't get what you need. You're just offloading. And
Yeah.
Facebook groups and private and business pages are not the place to do that.
Mm.
You go see your lawyer, your accountant, or your debt collector. That's what you do.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
I think that I think it's a great outcome. I think it's very important that people take responsibility for their pages. It is not hard to monitor these conversations. It's not hard to turn off commentary. It's not hard to put the filters in. And I think it's very important for community building that you guide your community towards positive communication, that you don't
Yeah.
provide enough, it's different if all that ran, it doesn't even take people back to your website. All it makes it look like is that your page is just gone out of control. Do you want
Yeah.
that? Is
No.
that the outcome you want?
No.
So I think I did get a lot of feedback from that post about people complaining that as a group admin or a group a business page owner that it makes a lot of work for them. Well, get help.
Yeah, I
If
was
it's too much
just
work, get a
going to
VA to
say
help
that.
you.
Get a community
Yeah,
manager.
get help. This is business now. If you are feeling the pressure, get help. Otherwise, don't run a page, because there is
Yeah.
a responsibility.
Yeah.
If it's too hot in the kitchen, if too hot close to the fire, get out of the kitchen, because it's no point saying, well, that's just a whole lot more work. I'm sorry, but business is work.
Yes.
It is work, and running a business page and running a group is work. One of the reasons, I'm perfectly positioned to run a Facebook group, okay, for my business. But you know what? I'm
Mm,
not doing it because I simply cannot put in the time that is
yeah.
required to moderate personally to the level that
Mm,
I would be required to moderate the kind of material that would be covered in a group such as mine. So
yes.
I,
And
I, I
that
then
is,
elect
yeah.
yeah, that's a business responsibility decision I've made. I've thought about it a lot, but I simply do not have the time or the capacity. And I don't want to delegate that to someone else, because I'm ultimately the owner, I would ultimately be the owner of that group. And
Yeah.
secondly, there are different ways of providing value. I think I do a lot, if I can't have my own group, I'm certainly providing value in other people's groups
Yes.
and on other people's business pages, and I do so mindfully, and that is all that conduct requires. So I'm a strong believer in business responsibility. Acting as a responsible business person. It doesn't matter how small you are. You could be selling one $30 service. You're still a business person. There is
Yes.
a
Yeah.
consumer responsibility. There's a social responsibility, and there is a contractual responsibility that and a community responsibility. And the Facebook community, I get tired of reading the rants, and um, especially from people that they could quite easily have dealt with this if they had had their decent terms and conditions done in the first place, or whatever it is that legal requirements that
Yeah.
they need to have as a business owner. So yeah, I hope that answers your question about the
Yeah. It does. No, it
the
really does. And I
moderation
think,
of the groups.
yeah, and I think the most important points are that you are ultimately responsible for what is going on. And so you have to have
Mm.
the time to moderate what's happening. And if you don't have that time, then you need to create it somehow, or you need to not have that asset,
Yes,
because
or
that's
you need to
responsibility.
outsource it. You need to get an admin that you have
Yeah.
trained really well, that is
Yeah.
a trained admin, not just some person that's put their hand up and said, yeah, I can look after they don't have a clue about what your values are,
Yeah.
who you're aligned with, what clients, you know, cross your path, what kind of material is covered in your groups, what possible challenges or arguments or comments could arise. You know, if you are going to outsource your admin for your business page, or to moderate your group, then you must make sure they are well trained to
Yes.
troubleshoot and manage any of these discussions that come. They actually know what a filter is. They know how to turn off a commentary. They know how to intervene. They know how to block someone. They know how to remove somebody. They know how to um, address, when they've switched something off and they've addressed it, they need to be able to actually address that in the group. Because
Yes.
if at any time an action is raised against them, there is a defamatory, there is an issue around defamation, you need to be able to show that you did these things, that you did everything you
Yes.
could to manage that, issue.
Yeah,
If you did nothing, then you have no leg to stand on. So
absolutely.
it is just a responsibility. You can't avoid it in your group rules and say we're not responsible for any defamatory comments. Well, you are.
Yeah,
You are. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. That is a great answer. It's cleared it up in my head, and hopefully, it will let other people that are watching um, have that bit more information because we're empowered by that information. And then now, because you've
Yeah.
laid it out so well, we know what we need to do in order to avoid,
Yeah.
you know, having a situation happen. And that's the most important thing, is that we have that action that we can, take to avoid
Yeah.
something happening and to set things up so that if they do happen, we know exactly what we need to do and how we're going to do it. That's really the
Yeah.
crux of the whole thing. Yeah. All right. Well, I am conscious of your time and I am super appreciative that you've taken 30 minutes out of your day to chat with us. The last thing I just want to
Oh,
do
it's
before
my
you go.
pleasure.
Oh, I'm so grateful. So I want to just make sure, though, that people can find you if they need you. So where is the best and easiest way for us to find you?
Look, I'm across social media. It's where I built my business, which is why I love talking to you. So my business page is Legally Shalini, very easy to find. My website is Legally Shalini. People contact me through Messenger on my business page or through email. I'm really very flexible. I do move
Cool.
everything to email, but I don't
Yeah.
really care how people contact me. I think it's the way of the world now. You have to be, if you're a solopreneur and you're on the go, you have to go with the flow.
You do. That is very true. That is very true. All right, awesome. Well, I will put up some links and make sure that people are able to find their way to you if they are in need right now. And thank you so much for taking time to be with me today.
It was, it was my pleasure. I hope we do it again sometime.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, Shalini.
Bye bye.